So my sincere thanks to the Alumni Association for giving me this opportunity. And thank you very much for giving me an audience, all the esteemed people who are there on the webinar. I see that all of you are very important people for the Indian segment and are handling very important portfolios. So I'll just quickly take you through our journey of strengthening the viral diagnostic facilities in India. Can I please have the next slide? So as all of you know that viruses are now considered one of the major agents of biological warfare. They have attracted lot of attention in terms of even the WHO has now identified them as a priority. Many of the viruses are identified as priority pathogens on which countries have been urged to focus their research and development activities. And if I take you back to 2009, as has already been said, that in 2009, when we were struck by the swine flu or the 2009 H1N1 pandemic, we were really gripped in dismay, and the public health system of the country had absolutely no infrastructure for diagnosis of viral infections. When we thought that how do we contain the epidemic, we had nothing except for two labs in the country. One was ICMR's institute, the National Institute of Virology at Pune, and the other was the National Center for Disease Control, which is in Delhi, which is a Ministry of Health and Family Welfare institution. And before that, we had many outbreaks of life-threatening and highly pathogenic viruses like the SARS coronavirus of Hong Kong in 2002, the Nipah virus outbreak of 2001, which still continues to happen and threaten us by outbreaks in Kerala. Then we had bird flu outbreaks in 2005, and then H1N1, as I said, swine flu in 2009. Until 2009, even the two centers that we had were not very well equipped to provide first-hand diagnosis. We had to borrow all the diagnostic reagents from CDC Atlanta. We did not have any diagnostic abilities of our own. And with such a huge country like India, it was a very, very big challenge that we faced. And this was a complete jolt to the public health system of the country, that why don't we go ahead and strengthen the viral diagnostic facilities in our own country. So can I have the next slide, please? So then this thought started conceptualizing from 2009, and through ICMR, I have been working in ICMR after taking, I'm a graduate, for medical graduate from Lady Hardinge Medical College, and pursued my PhD from the School of Molecular Medicine, and I happened to be the first batch student from the School of Molecular Medicine in JNU. And after that, I worked in AIMS, and then I joined ICMR. And since 2009, I have been involved in the creation of this viral research and diagnostic network at ICMR, wherein I started from the scratch in building the capacity for viral infection diagnosis in the country. So from 2009 to 2013, I could establish 15 state-of-art virology laboratories in the country, who are fully equipped to carry all kinds of viral diagnosis, be it a serology-based simple diagnosis, molecular diagnosis, sequencing of viruses, development of diagnostic kits. So we worked on that. And then realizing the need, the government of India, through our parent department of ICMR, which is the Department of Health Research, converted into a full-fledged scheme of the government. So this got rolled out in 2013 as a full-fledged scheme of the government, wherein it was proposed that in every government medical college, we will establish viral research and diagnostic labs, and would spread the capacity to detect viral infections to all parts of the country. So this network has the ability, and our target is 125 labs. And as of now, we have been able to establish 106 labs in almost all states and union territories of the country. The mandate of this network is to test all the viruses of public health importance, excluding polio and HIV, because there are separate networks for that. The network is also involved actively in outbreak investigation, so that the viral outbreaks can be detected very early at the field level. And this is how we could early catch the Zika virus outbreak in India and the Nipah virus outbreak in India. This was the network which had the capacity to quickly detect and enabled us to contain these outbreaks very quickly. And of course, research, the R of the VRDL network stands for research. So there is a lot of research ongoing to detect the strain evolution, the like antiviral susceptibility. Like if I talk about influenza, oseltamivir or Tamiflu is the first line drug. But then we also need to monitor whether the virus is becoming resistant to these drugs. So those are the kind of studies that the multicentric studies that this network keeps on doing to detect what are the evolution of the virus, what are the antiviral patterns which are prevailing, which antiviral to use, where is the resistance developing. So all this data, valuable data, is generated through this network. Can I have the next slide, please? So this is the array of viruses which can be detected by the Viral Research and Diagnostic Lab Network. And they have the capacity to, as of now, detect 20 to 25 viruses of public health importance. Next slide, please. So this is the representativeness of the 106 VRDLs that I spoke about. Now there are 3 tiers of the VRDLs. So regional level VRDLs, which are 10 in number, they are extremely well equipped in terms of having a biosafety level 3 facility. So biosafety level 3 facility is something where you can even handle the highly pathogenic viruses, and you can even culture and grow the viruses without infecting the laboratory workers. So this we have 10 in number, followed by state level VRDLs, which are 25 in number. These are also high-end virology laboratories where you can have all state-of-art facilities like virus ELISAs, molecular detection, as well as sequencing of the viruses. Then the lowest in the cadre is the medical college level VRDLs, which are 85 in number. And they also have molecular as well as serological detection of viruses. They have the capabilities of that. So this network is up and running of 106 labs. Now, next please. So the network functions in 2 forms. So first of all, the samples from the field through the, I hope that many of you would be aware that the government of India has an integrated disease surveillance network, which is spread across all the states. And this is the grassroots level surveillance system which operates in the whole country and is mandated to pick up any outbreak at a very early stage. So the VRDLs work in close liaison with the IDSP, and also they receive samples. Since all the VRDLs are located in government medical colleges, there is a flow of samples from the OPD and IPD patients. And the samples are captured from these 2 sources, and complete demographic as well as epidemiological and clinical data of the patients is captured. And eventually the sample collection details and all are captured, lab results are generated, and the results are conveyed back either to the state IDSP if it is coming from an outbreak setting, or to an individual patient in the medical college if it is coming from OPD and IPD patients. So these are the 2 sources from where the VRDLs get the patient samples, and this is how they test and return back the samples. So we have a well characterized database of the patients who are getting infected by viral infections, and we also have a central database where all this country data is being fed. So when I move from 2009 to today, we have a structured network, structured data capture systems, and a well-established system where the results are also being conveyed either through the public health system or patients who are admitted in the hospitals. Can I have the next slide, please? So these are the broad syndromes in which the data is captured, as you can see. So since in most of the cases, the clinical presentation is very broad, so it is very difficult to pinpoint the diagnosis by seeing the patient. But when samples come from field, they come in kind of a syndromic form that is filled up. Like the patient has encephalitis, diarrhea, respiratory infections, or fever of unknown origin, fever with rash, jaundice, hemorrhagic fevers, conjunctivitis, as well as others. So these are the broad syndromes in which we capture the details and then offer clinical diagnosis. So these syndromes give us an idea of what test has to be put up for which group of patients. So that's where they help us. Next slide, please. So in order to support this huge network, we also have 2 very important centers within the ICMR system. One is the Resource Center for VRDL at National Institute of Virology in Pune, which is responsible for building all standard operating procedures for laboratory testing. They are involved in training of different lab staff on different techniques. Then they also provide a quality assurance program to the entire network. Data management is being fed. Data portal is at one of the ICMR's institute at National Institute of Epidemiology in Chennai, wherein weekly, monthly, quarterly reports are generated. The information from outbreaks is immediately conveyed back to the state health system to take punitive action. So this is a very well established and operational system now. Next slide, please. So if I talk about a few significant achievements of the VRDL network, like till date, more than 20 lakh patients have been tested in the past 6 years and a diagnosis has been provided on viral infections. The outbreak has investigated more than 900 the network has investigated more than 900 outbreaks. Now there are facilities for testing viruses in all parts of the country. In the past 10 years, this has been a very strong asset that the country now has. And since seeing that how viruses can be used as agents of biological warfare, then with this strength coming in, like India has a very robust platform now to respond to any viral outbreak in a very quick time. Then we also are very cognizant that the whole network cannot handle high risk pathogens because they are highly transmissible. Lab workers can be infected. So high biosafety condition laboratories have been created at almost 15 to 20 sites now, where the high risk pathogens can also be handled very effectively. And as I earlier said, this was the network which picked up the Zika virus transmission in India. First Zika virus reports from India were from this network. Nipah virus outbreak from Kerala was picked up by this network. Now, as I said that way back in 2009, when we had only 2 facilities in India for testing influenza, now we have more than 45. And now with the COVID outbreak, all 106 VRDLs have risen up to the occasion, and all 106 now have capability for testing influenza like viruses or even COVID-19. Now, this is the network which is helping to improve the surveillance for diseases targeted for elimination. This is measles and rubella now that I'm talking. And as I said, the most important contribution of the VRDL network is that when we had this threat of COVID-19 in January, we could immediately scale up this entire network. Like there was a time when we were dependent on CDC and US to give us reagents. But in record time, NIV Pune, which is our apex virology lab, could standardize the testing methodology, and we could scale it up to 106 VRDLs. And now today, I have more than 620 laboratories in the country which have been built over this VRDL platform and are now involved in COVID diagnosis. So this is really an example of how in record time this network has provided a base on which the country could build up the diagnostic abilities very quickly. And timeliness of reporting of results is 24 to 72 hours in most of the cases. Though I understand exceptions are there depending upon the type of test being conducted, but this is the routine turnaround time, and we continue to work to improve this. Next slide, please. The other very important area that I want to highlight is that all of us know that influenza vaccine is a seasonal vaccine. When I talk about H1N1 or swine flu vaccine, we know it's an yearly vaccine, and every year there is a different strain. So who generates that data that what strain is prevailing in India? So this is this network now, network of almost 45 labs, which feeds the data into the WHO universal system, which determines which vaccine is suitable for which hemisphere of the country. So as of now, India has a robust system of reporting from these 45 influenza labs, which are feeding data every week. And this is the platform which helps us in taking a decision every year which vaccine would suit India. And accordingly, the health ministry, looking at this data, they inform the vaccine manufacturers, and accordingly a vaccine is made available in India. So this is also a very strong contribution of this network. Next, please. And as I said, that through this network now, we have been able to create regional hubs in with NIV Pune, which is the ICMR Institute, as a biosafety level 4 laboratory, which is the highest level of biosafety lab in the world. And that through 13 VRDLs has been identified as a very strong hub for providing diagnosis as well as surveillance for all high-risk pathogens that you talk of, be it Ebola, be it Marburg, Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever, SARS group of viruses, MERS group of viruses. This is a very strong platform, Nipah virus. And now this platform is also, we have reached out to the WHO Southeast Asia region countries, 11 of them, and they have collaborated with us to strengthen the diagnostic facilities in their respective countries. So we have recently launched a regional research platform with all the SEER countries, wherein this network provides a very strong logistic and training support to the entire Southeast Asia region. Next, please. And when I talk about COVID, this is the strength now. As on yesterday, I had 607 laboratories, which have been further increased to 620 today. And this is the distribution of these laboratories all across the country. And as I said, that the VRDL network has provided a strength and a platform for very quickly establishing such a huge network of COVID-19 testing laboratories in the country. And now, since many laboratories who are testing for COVID-19 are new, the VRDL laboratories are hand-holding these new laboratories, enabling them to give diagnosis. They are also training them. They are also doing the quality assurance for them. So the strong base which is already there in the country is now hand-holding many of them. And the most satisfying thing that has happened in the recent past is that the government of India has realized the need for having molecular diagnosis of viruses, the facilities in all the government as well as private medical colleges of the country. So earlier it was not there, and we through ICMR struggled to create these 106 labs. But after COVID, the government has made it mandatory that any medical college which will be recognized by the Medical Council of India will need to have this infrastructure in place before they get an MCI recognition. So this has very recently happened after the COVID crisis, and we have given all the material to MCI that what all are the requirements, and hand holding from our own laboratories would definitely take place. But now every medical college in the country would see a specialized molecular virology diagnostic capacity there, which will really help us to respond to viral outbreaks in a much, much better way in future. Next, please. So that's all from my side. And again, I would really like to thank the Alumni Association of JNU for giving me this opportunity, and really makes me proud to be a part of this August gathering and a part of JNU. Thank you so much.